All right, so we're on to step number 5. So step number 5, what we're going to do is a technique called skin smoothing. So we're going to do it pretty light, but it's going to be another adjustment brush. So in this case, instead of adding highlights and shadows, what we're going to be doing is actually working with this one down here that says clarity. Now, we talked about clarity before for giving it a little bit of extra sharpness. So this is, we're actually doing the opposite effect. So I'm going to take clarity all the way down, and I'm going to create a new brush. And I'm going to make the brush nice and big, so I'm going to pretty much be covering everything. So I'm going to go ahead and paint straight over here. We want to avoid a couple of spots. So some of the areas that we don't want to do the smoothing to is going to be the lips. We're also not going to want to smooth the eyes or the eyebrows, because those are areas that we're going to look to for sharpness. And so we don't want to put any blur kind of on those areas. All right, so again, our exposure is at 1.59, so we're going to bring that all, actually I'm just going to double click right there, and that's going to reset it to 0. Now, the clarity is going to be, right now, because we have it set all the way up, it's going to be relatively extreme. So you can see if I turn that off, you know, it's going to do a lot of, you know, it's doing a lot. So we're not going to need to use it at the full amount. So we're just going to be looking to find a balance of, you know, just enough so that it's going to smooth out a little bit. So that, it, you know, if there is, you know, just even from, you know, having blood vessels and those sort of things, there's going to be an unevenness. So it'll help just kind of smooth that out. And so we're going to take this, and so this would be our 0 clarity, and we're just going to bring it down a little bit so that until it gets a nice little kind of soft glow. We don't want to be extreme with it. We just want to give it just a little bit of smoothing. So we still want to keep some of the beauty marks and the freckles and those sort of things. So we're just giving it a little bit in there. I'm also going to hold down the Option key just to be safe, and, you know, go back over a couple of things like eyebrows that I want to make sure are 100% sharp, and I want to make sure that, you know, our eyelashes and things are also nice and sharp. So I'll go back over those. You know, things that should have nice little contrast, we just want to hit those. And then, you know, the edges of the lips, those sort of things. I just want to make sure we don't have any smoothing happening there. And then the last thing that I think maybe we could go about doing is, you know, maybe just a little bit underneath the eyes. And so if we instead of using clarity, we're going to grab a new adjustment brush. Oops. Sorry. We're actually going to use the spot healing. So if we zoom in, let's go in here. And then we'll just do a, you know, I mean, it's just we have a little tiny dark spot right there, probably mostly because of the way that the light is falling. And so I'm just going to cover this spot right here. And then it's going to pick a new spot to grab it from. I'd rather it come from kind of the cheek here. And I don't want it to be 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and take this opacity and bring it down. And so it's still going to go ahead and allow some of the, you know, what's naturally there. It's just going to soften the effect. And then I'm just going to do one more over here. Again, kind of painting over this same area. And then repositioning where we want that sample to come from. I don't want it to come over from that bridge of the... right there. And then we'll click off of there so that we can zoom out. And we'll do our last snapshot here. Let's see, we were doing smoothing. So again, if we went back, there was our highlights and shadows. And then with the skin smoothing, you know, again, it just gives it a little bit of a softness to it. And then there we go. Now, there's one other thing that, you know, they're supposed to come in wearing black, so we want to keep that nice and uniform. I do have a little tiny bit of her Mission Vista sweatshirt showing up over there, so I'm just going to do one last quick little spot healing, and I'm just going to brush over that. and then make sure that it's sampling from a spot that's kind of uniform. And my opacity is not at 100%, so I'll go ahead and bring that back up. And that'll just clean up that spot a little bit, just so that it's not a distraction down there at the bottom. And so there we go. That's the steps that we're going to take. Go ahead and, hopefully you're following along and doing them kind of as you go. Practice with yours. That way we at least have some familiarity, because come Thursday, once you've shot your pictures, we need to start processing these so we can get ready to take them to print. We'll do a separate thing about printing depending on what sizes it is, maybe on Friday. So I hope that's helpful. Use it sparingly. Just do light little corrections. You don't need to go crazy. Sometimes it's easier to see what you're doing if you go a little bit brighter or darker, but then kind of dial it back. And again, just like Peter Hurley was saying, sometimes when we look at it and we see the before and the after, we go, oh gosh, wow, we made so much change. But then, if that's all that you see, we're going to take it for what it is. So we want to, especially when we're doing the ones for the theater, we want to try to give them the best look that they can, because, when you're doing a headshot and you're looking for acting work, you want to put your best foot forward. And so we want to, keep it real to who they are, but we want to just give them a little bit of an enhancement. All right, there we go.